This is the Power of Public Value podcast from Cardiff Business School, where we explore the positive impact of public value in everything we do. My name is Peter Wells. I am Pro-Dean of Public Value in Cardiff Business School, and our guest today is Julia Leath. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you.
Julia is officially, and I say officially, Julia is officially the Deputy Facilities Manager at Cardiff Business School. This, however, totally fails to convey the depth and range of activities that Julia undertakes on behalf of staff and students at Cardiff Business School. In this episode, we will highlight how Julia has brought the ideas of public value to life with the changes that she has been instrumental in delivering in the physical environment of the school and the way it operates. So, welcome, Julia, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you too.
Just as a starter, so we have an understanding of how you got to this point. What brought you to your current position in Cardiff Business School?
Well, it was during COVID, because I'm from a catering and event background, which I had been working in Cardiff University for 29 years. Then COVID came along in March 2020. And of course, as we all know, everywhere came to a standstill. But then when people started to return to work, the impact COVID had on the hospitality industry was tremendous. So unfortunately, we were very quiet within the catering department. So I looked for a secondment. And I'd always had a very good relationship with Cardiff Business School, especially the team in Executive Ed Suite from events I'd helped organise for them. So there was a position which I applied for. And luckily, I was successful in getting that. So I came along, worked for about 6 to 8 months within the business school.
So just why the business school, though? Was it particularly that you had just had those links?
Yes, yeah. Right. I think I would have gone anywhere else within university because I do think the university is a very good employer. But like you said, Peter, it was the link I already had, and the knowledge I had about the business school was always helps anybody in a new role. So I came along, and as I said, I was here for about approximately 8 months, and then catering started to pick back up in the hospitality industry. So I went back to catering, because it was only a secondment. And then, fortunately for me, about 6 months later, a position was advertised for Deputy Facilities Manager within the business school. So I applied for that, and I was successful.
Very good. What did they ask for when they put out this job role? Because, you know, your background in catering, of course, you had to be really organised, you had to be efficient, all these things. But it's not quite the same as what you're doing now, is it?
No, it is different, but I am good at organising. I think they're transferable skills. I also enjoy working with people, and I think I am adaptable, right. And I don't mind change at all, so I will fit in. And I do describe myself as hands-on and a doer. You know, if somebody wants something done, we can still be talking about it, but in my head, I'm thinking, I could have done it by now. My patience is not very good, sorry.
Far be it from me to mention my roller blinds. But
oh, yeah, sorry.
You've brought in a prop. Tell us about this darling little creature you've brought in to show us.
Well, this is a hedgehog. And one of the things we have done within the facilities team is we've worked very closely, and I've built a very good relationship with CU Hedgehogs. And we are a Hedgehog Friendly Campus. We look after wildlife and obviously the hedgehogs, because this is aimed at the hedgehogs, but making sure their habitat is suitable for them. There's feeding stations, water stations. We've built log piles for them. We've got hedgehog houses. We've actually had a camera up to monitor.
Oh, right.
We also did...
Have you seen hedgehogs?
No, because they're mainly at night and I'm usually home by then, Peter. Sorry. But no, what we'd like to do next year is get our own cameras in.
Right, infrared, presumably.
Yeah, because on the screens then we've got dotted around the business school. I thought it'd be interest to staff and students and visitors to see our hedgehogs, not constantly on. But we did a survey with a colleague of mine, Mafalda, who looks after CU Hedgehogs, where we put tunnels down and prints and ink. And we do have a lot of hedgehogs at the business school because of the habitat.
Right.
Is not touched that often.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted to keep, just sidetracking a bit, the gardens, our wellbeing gardens and wildlife gardens, as natural as possible and just enhance them for the wildlife and also the pollinators. So yeah, so this is our hedgehog.
It's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because there's a fine line between neglected and natural, and I think what I've seen you do is change that from neglected to natural in a sense.
And I think that's been the feedback from anybody who visits the garden. And we always get really positive feedback. And I think what's nice as well is people who just walk around the back of the university, as in from John Percival, that sort of area, then they come through the business school if they go into the halls of residence or visiting us, is sometimes they go, wow, we didn't know this was here. And I think that natural environment, like you said, we've just enhanced what was there, because it was lots of cement, grey, dark. So it was just enhancing that. And also the reality was who's going to look after it all the time. Yes. So even though the ground force team, a university contractor, are very helpful and supportive, it was something we wanted that was low maintenance and manageable. And I think we have achieved that too.
Mm-hmm. So you were kind of thinking not just putting this thing in place, but its continuity over time.
Yes. And I think everything we planted last year, again, because last year was the first year of planting, has obviously come back this year. There's lots more we need to do with planting Welsh bulbs such as bluebells, daffodils, that sort of thing, native to Wales, which is on our action plan. So it'll be further enhanced as time goes on, as any garden is, I suppose.
Well, indeed. And I suppose not many people know there's a difference between the Welsh bluebell and the Spanish, but there are some important, significant differences there. And I think one of the things that's really struck me about what you bring to us is that you use your own initiative to sort things out very fast and to find good solutions to problems. And office refurbishment is a very good example. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you could explain a bit about how you went about identifying the good things to do with the stuff we're taking out of our offices. Because typically we focus on the things that we're putting in. And the stuff that's going away, we don't think about very much. But it really impressed me that you had actually thought this one through.
Yes. Well, we had, I'm sure you're aware, Peter, we had 2 containers in the car park, which were full of furniture. Plus then I had the project of the refurbishments. And I hadn't done refurbishments within the business school before. But I think going back to what I said, I am organised. I'm very methodical. I like my lists. So the first thing I looked at was what's going to happen with all this furniture, because there was not much wrong with this furniture at all. So it was a team effort. I asked the team, mainly my colleague Kelly, we emailed all the local schools in both Mid and South Glamorgan, all the charities, and looked at scouts clubs, guides, etc., anybody. And then we had lots of emails coming back to us then. And the only thing I did say to them was, you can have what you want, but you need to be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot did hire vans, because even the cost of a rental van to them, for sometimes thousands of pounds worth of furniture they were getting, was good value.
Yes.
And the feedback we had has been tremendous from lots of charities, just saying how the business school has enhanced their environment, whether it's a social space or a charity or a youth club, by having our furniture. We've had photos as well. Plus, the biggest thing, it didn't go to landfill either.
Yes, of course.
So we did donate a lot, and the 2 containers went as well. So, so I'm pleased with what we've done there.
And which makes me wonder, as I say, it's been very much your own initiative. You look at these things and think, okay, let's find a solution. And I wonder where that comes from in you. I mean, it seems to me that we have this public value kind of wrapping around what we try to do, but it seemed to fit you very naturally. And I wondered, had you thought about that before?
Well, one thing my father always taught me, a problem is only a solution in disguise. And I've always remembered that. And I think I don't see it as a problem. I see it as something needs to be done. And how are I or we going to do that?
Right.
So I think it is just in me to get things done. I'm just one of those type of people who, if I see something that needs to be done, I'll do it. Or if it's something a bit bigger, then obviously it's a team effort as well. It's not just myself. So I am, and I think I did say earlier, I am just one of these people who does things.
But you could have just said, okay, let's clear these two containers out.
Oh, right, sorry.
And dump them in Cardiff Tip, No,
but I think going back to being a public value business school, and I see we support that within the facilities team, as in the impacts we have on the local or wider communities. But I think if we can help them, because they haven't got, say, the financial resources to purchase things themselves, I will think, well, I'm not going to dump that, A, because it's good furniture, but also it can be used elsewhere and people will appreciate it.
Sure.
So it is like just thinking of not just like, let's dump it, it's what we can do with it. And you'll always find something for it.
Yes, and that's an interesting feature in a way, because it makes you wonder what happened before. I mean, I know that I when we moved from the old building near the city centre, I had a whole series of shelves from that move.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they were going to be thrown away, and they were beautiful, proper wood, really nice. But that's just a single initiative, But whereas what you have done, I think, is create an approach which actually becomes part of what we do. Yeah,
and I think another example is with yourself, Peter, and also other colleagues within the business school who might wanted, say, one or two pieces of furniture extra, because people might have more meetings in their office now, is rather than buy the price of furniture, because it's not cheap. I know areas, and it could be such as this room, they don't use all the furniture. So it's just here doing nothing. So rather than spend £3,000 on 2 or 3 chairs, well, I'll take them. I was like Rob and Peter to pay Paul, but it's still within the business school.
Yeah, speaking as a Peter, I've never been keen on this phrase.
Sorry. I didn't think of that. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, and I used to work with a guy called Paul all the time. It was very distressing. So what's next on the agenda for you then, Julia? I mean, do you just react to what's going on, or do you have your own plans of things you'd like to do?
Yes, I have plans, but I have to react quite a lot of, daily actually to quite a few things, but that's not a problem at all. So we've got a couple of refurbishments coming up. There's one on the B corridor, B43, where the seminar room there is going to be turned into an informal open meeting space.
That's right next to my office.
That's correct. Oh. So that's happening in December.
Okay.
I'm planning with the States for December for completion before the students come back in January.
Right.
So the designs have just gone to procurement now. So that's all in hand there.
But an interesting thing with that's a classic example in a way, that we as a school are growing. Their space isn't.
Yes.
The building is what it is.
Yeah.
And we're trying to repurpose and make the most of what we have.
Exactly.
But at the moment, that space is a storage space.
Correct.
You are going to run out of those spaces.
Well, again, a lot of the items that were in there have been donated to charities. There are items still in there, but those are some seminar desks, which I can relocate to other seminar rooms. There's some personal belongings of people, of staff, which I've contacted to give them a date where I need it out by. You're correct in what you say. There won't be any storage space, but personally, I see that as a positive.
Okay.
Because otherwise you get dumping rooms and things just get put in there for a year becomes 5, then 10.
Yes.
And I think it makes, whether individuals or me and my team, then we have to do something with it. Right. So again, I'm planning ahead what's going to happen with that stuff. I know I've got till December. It'll be gone before then. But I think that's the good thing about being able to plan. Mm-hmm. I can get things done rather than just react sometimes.
Yes.
So, but storage space, yes. I'm not having any containers back. I will be donating constantly to charity.
Good, yes. And then it becomes as I say, it becomes a way of being. And it's an interesting philosophy in a way, because you see this problem in people's personal lives a lot.
Yeah, very much.
You have a garage, you have a loft, you fill it with stuff.
And you never use it. And I think it's quite myself. I recently emptied 2 rooms at home. I'd been going in and just shutting the door. It sounds great, saying what I do in work, and then I've got these 2 rooms at home. So
we all have this problem.
But because I hadn't used the stuff, I thought I'm not going to be sentimental. And I literally went to our local recycling, which is brilliant. I went to a couple of charity shops. And it took me 2 days, but you feel like, ooh, it's a nice feeling when all that clutters. You feel quite uplifted in yourself, lighter in spirit. So,
Interesting. Yeah, because you even found a home, for my old books, for example, and things like that. Yep. So the amount of waste, even from a clear out of an office that's been there a good while, was really, really minimal.
And your pictures as well. I've got one at home, and then my friend liked them. So he's got 2 in his home, and every time I go in, there's Peter's. But again, they've been repurposed. Somebody's enjoying them, and that's what we should be doing.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to know that my photos have got a new home. Funny enough, we were just talking about that earlier. And so, yes, you have those kind of projects that you know are coming.
Yep.
But you're not one for sitting around, are you?
No.
And if we take the refurbishment or the refurbishment's not the word, the enlivening of the space downstairs in our kind of common copy area and so on, what kind of stimulated you to get into doing all of that? And you go and make a lot of decisions there. You bring flowers in, you're bringing benches in, you're doing all sorts of things. And I'm wondering, is this must be a mixture of a policy kind of decision and Julia's initiative, and I wonder how that works.
I think it's correct what you said, Peter. It is policy driven, and also my enthusiasm as well, and wanting to do things. And I think, again, I see things that need to be done. And I think also being a public value business school and working and supporting the local community, which we do by working with various charities, such as Innovative Trust, who supports people in accommodation. So they come in and work monthly in our garden.
Oh, they actually come and do gardening?
Yes, yeah.
Ah, brilliant. So was this something that you kind of instigated?
Yeah.
Right.
Young adults come in with their carers. The last project we did, they planted all the wildflower seeds. They've also, if the weather's not too good, we'll stay inside and paint rocks for the garden, that sort of thing. Yeah. So that's working really well. And also student volunteers from Cardiff University help and support as well there.
Right.
Working alongside Innovative Trust, can't get my words out, sorry, and student volunteers to get more volunteers for September, October. So that's ongoing at the moment. Also Home Start Cymru, where we support families who might not have financial means, and we supported at Christmas with regards donating all our Christmas trees.
Yes,
if you recall, we had nice potted real Christmas trees.
Yes.
So again, one of our local builders who I work closely with on refurbishments donated his time and one of his
wagons.
Builders and wagons, and the actual builder dressed up as Father Christmas as well.
Okay, that's a nice touch.
So we went round Cardiff and the Vale delivering Christmas trees, and lovely. That was quite heart-tugging but heartwarming when you deliver to a family.
Yeah, who have nothing really.
And literally one took me back in Fairwater because we knocked on the door and there was a lady with a son. His son was off school that day. He wasn't very well, and the trees were quite heavy. So I said, is it okay if we bring them in? So she said, yes, of course. And I think it was 3 or 4 days for Christmas, and there was 2 little presents on the floor in the corner. And then you think,
okay.
And then again, things like that drive me to do things.
Sure.
Just help people.
And the other thing that struck me is the attention to detail. That stuff that other people perhaps slightly walk past or don't prefer not to see,
yes,
quite carefully not see. That one of the things you are quite good at, I think, is picking up on those details, and in a way, it makes the whole experience that we have of the site that much different.
I think generally, even if you went back, say, to my 30 years within the university, and we briefly touched earlier about me working within catering, which I thoroughly enjoyed in my role, and again, that was events. But I was known for my attention to detail then. If I had a function on, whether it was for 50 people or 2,000 people, I could look at a detail within that room and think, oops, that something needs doing there, or great, I don't need to do anything. So I think it's just one of those, I'm fortunate enough to have, or just a skill I've got. That attention to detail.
A great example for me is today, we're doing this episode, we're doing the recording for this episode. You come zooming up the stairs. You've been busy rescuing a seagull.
One of many to come.
and again, this is a great example of just living it.
Yes.
And that's one of the, curiously enough, one of the unifying themes of the conversations I've been having with people about public value is how much it's not an abstract thing.
No.
It's actually a day-to-day
Yes,
life.
very much so. And I totally agree with that. And I think I've always carried that out in my personal life and professional life, because I treat people how I would like to be treated. Mm-hmm. It's quite
and
simple.
Indeed, seagulls.
The lucky seagulls, eh?
Well, of course, people won't appreciate that we live in a very seagull-intensive location.
Correct, we do. They're everywhere.
And quite a few of them need rescuing from time to time, and you do a very good job of doing so.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Julia. And what can I say? Where would we be without you? I think it is the honest truth. I don't know how we managed to survive this long before you arrived.
Thank you.
And now you're in our lives. It's made a massive difference.
That's very kind of you.
So
Thank
it's been
you.
Fantastic. In this episode, we have explored how public value can be brought to life in our day-to-day operations to the benefit of all. Thank you for listening. This has been the Power of Public Value podcast from Cardiff Business School.